There was a time when Indian athletes were simply not world quality or podium worthy to the extent that they'd be able to actually realistically think that they'd win at the Olympics. Make no mistake, ladies and gentlemen, this time more than a dozen of our athletes had a very real chance of actually winning, and I'm only talking about those events which have already happened. Many of them came very close, as you saw in that report, but faltered at that last step where the difference is so narrow that it's almost impossible for a lay person to tell the gap between the person who ended up at the podium and the athlete who missed out. And remember, coming fourth is really just the worst thing. If you didn't reach the finals or you couldn't make the qualifications, that's one thing. But if you come so close and then you don't end up winning, how do you live with that? Now the question is, what are the lessons we can learn? How do we ensure that we can do better next time? And why did things not come together? That just last finish, why did it not happen? To talk about this, I'm joined on this broadcast by multiple guests, and we'll try and get their perspective. I want to introduce Manisha Malhotra, Head of Sports Excellence and Scouting at JSW Sports. We've got Adil Sumariwala, President of the Athletics Federation of India. Jakbir Singh is a very well-known hockey player, Arjuna Award recipient. Krishna Punia joins us, discus thrower, track and field star athlete, Padma Shri and Arjuna Awardee winner. We've got Pradeep Magazine, one of India's best-known sports journalists. Joydeep Karmakar is a sharpshooter. So thank you to all our guests for joining us. I want to go across to Manisha first because you're at the Paris venue, you saw the wrestling, and I want to spend just a moment by talking about whether there was anything at all more that could be done, because as people relive this agony throughout the day, they just wonder, could we have done anything more? Where did this go wrong? Could anything have been done differently which ensured that one Dettol bar, that's all the gap that there was, 100 grams between being able to fight in the finals tonight and not be able to do it? Why couldn't we just bring it together magically? Why did we just lose out at that last moment?
Well, I mean, the Olympics, the margins between the gold medal and every other, not just every other medal, but the rest is sometimes razor thin. And here we see that I don't think we're at the time right now where everybody's emotional to discuss the would have, could have, should have. I think that this is the time to support the athlete. I think, imagine how devastated we are. So you can't even imagine what she's going through. And I don't think that we need to kind of, sit here and point fingers at this moment. I think the time right now is to rally behind our athletes who are still competing. We still have a good bunch of athletes coming up. And I think it's important that we kind of spin a positive campaign to get these guys through the thing. And then on the 12th, we can really sit down and see where things went wrong and see what we did right or wrong. I mean, there's a lot that's gone right. She's made the 50 kilograms the day before. So sometimes your body just does not respond to weight cuts as needed. And that's the unfortunate part of what has happened. And yeah, I mean, it's really difficult for anybody to kind of express the disappointment that we all have right now.
Adil Sumariwala, you're part of the Indian official delegation there. So many Indian officials, such a big support staff. There's a time when there was little government backing, no corporate support. Now there's a lot of government backing, a lot of corporate support. The athletes are being given everything. And from what we can gather, the international coaches, big support staff, medics. And yet, that just 100 grams, I mean, how did they get their calculations wrong? Why couldn't they fix this?
So first of all, let me correct you. I'm not part of the Indian delegation. I am there on my own as the Vice President of World Athletics and a member of the jury of World Athletics. So I've got nothing to do with the official contingent as far as it goes. Number one. Number two, yes, you need support staff. For example, Neeraj himself has 3 support staff. Vinesh herself had personal 3 or 4 support staff. So yes, you need that support staff. You need a physio, you need a masseur, you need a dietitian, you need a doctor, you need the support staff. So just to blame anybody and everybody, you have to first understand how the system works. All this talk is without trying to understand the system. She got weighed in. She was exactly the weight that she had to be, 50 kilos. Then you're allowed to eat or drink or whatever. Normally, most competitions get over on the first day. There is no second day. Now you put on weight between the time you got weighed in on the first day and you end. And imagine, she did 3 fantastic bouts. She beat the Japanese who had 82 wins in a row, unbeaten. She had 3. She had to eat, she had to get hydrated, she had to drink water. So her body weight naturally went up. Now the challenge is, and which normally doesn't happen in other international competitions, it happens mostly in the Olympics, is that you have to reduce your weight between the evening of your last bout and your next bout in the morning. So they did whatever they could. They had a whole team of, including her own private personal coaches, of personal staff of 4, her personal nutritionist, the team nutritionists, the team doctors. They did everything from a sauna to a treadmill to running half the night. The whole team stayed up with her, and they tried their best. And 100, I don't understand this keeping on showing bananas and apples and whatever to say 100 grams. Usain Bolt broke the start by 5 thousandths of a second, and he was put out. He could, in the finals, the World Championships. So there is a rule. If you don't fall within that rule, you go out. Now, I don't know what is the point of showing an apple and a banana. If you are overweight, you're overweight. Manu Bhaker lost by something thinner than your hair. The distance between the first, the silver and the bronze was less than your hair. Now, it was less than your hair. Now, that is the rule. Now, if you lose, you lose. You win, you win. So I think we need to get a larger perspective and a handle on ourselves.
No, what is the larger perspective, Adil Sumarewala? Listen,
at the highest level.
No, Adil Sumarewala, make no mistake. Not for a second are we blaming the athletes. They've played their heart out. If you join all these dots and just look at the sheer number of athletes who've come 5th, the question I'm trying to ask, which I think is a very relevant question to ask, and I think many would agree, is that why is it that so often we've missed out by just that fraction of the hair that you're talking about? Is it just happenstance, coincidence? Because earlier, we weren't even in the medal fray. Now we are. You know, so many of our athletes so close to the podium and just missing out. That's the question. I realize you're emotional, but that's a very important question to ask, sir.
I am answering the question. It's very simple. At one time, we had nobody qualifying into the finals. Today, we have these many people not only qualifying in the finals, but in the top 6. Now, there is a time of progression. It doesn't happen overnight. It's not like a switch you can put on and off. So please understand that there is a progression time, and you can't do anything to that time. So we are trying our best, whether it's the government, it's the federation, it's the Mission Olympic Cell, it's the top scheme, all of us, whether it's private sponsors, we are all working together to ensure that we shorten this time and the progression moves faster. But there is no magic wand, please understand.
Sure, you're saying there's no magic point, you're saying it's a process. Let's take hockey, for example. Jagbir Singh, this team started out a little underwhelmingly in the first few league matches. Yesterday against Germany in the semi-finals, I thought they played, and I'm sure everybody who's watching would agree, they played outstandingly well. They were arguably the better team on the field, and yet somehow, as is often the case, not just with hockey but with Indian sport, they missed out. Just that last killer punch, which could have been delivered, wasn't delivered. Now, you've got Adil Sumarewala saying that it's a progression, it's a journey. How do you look at this? The team was playing better, they were more flamboyant, they had more skill, they seemed like they were set to win, and yet suddenly, like the case with Vinesh, they didn't win.
No, it's not just about winning. It's about how you fight for the game, and this is what hockey has done. Let's not forget 2008 Olympics. We didn't qualify,
Sure.
and that was the time when the government was proposing that hockey should be out of the priority sports because everybody had been talking about hockey not being there anymore. Hamara time khatam ho gaya and hockey can never make a comeback. But then there was support coming in. Then they realized that it's not just about one tournament, it's a continuing process which they have to follow. And honestly, sports in India have actually started on a scientific note from 2010 Commonwealth Games preparations in India. That's the time when we took sports very seriously. That's the time when we started providing the athletes with international top quality coaches. We heard for the first time what biomechanics is all about, what scientific training is all about. We always thought trainer is the only one who can make us running around, who can make us help get fitter. But there are so many other factors involved which later hockey realized. And 2012, we finished at the bottom of the table. Everybody said no chance for hockey to come back. And now this is the second consecutive time we are into the semi-finals. I would say it was very close, and this was the best match Indian hockey played against Germany. That's also in the semi-finals. There are 3 European teams already qualified in the semi-final. There is always 2 European teams playing in the semi-finals. Australia, always there, but this is the first time India has challenged them. So I would take half glass full and not empty.
No, as a huge fan of all Indian athletics and especially hockey, and I care for it much more than I do for cricket, I am delighted with the way that they fought. I'm trying to understand that little glass empty which is still there. The half full, I love. Everyone loves. I'm seeing the glass that's half empty. How do we fill that?
I'll tell you how. What we get as youngsters into coaching or scientific support, which we all talk about, is at a later stage when you join the national training camps. It is when we talk about tops. It is when we talk about all the facilities being given to the national probables, expecting immediate medals. Let's start from the grassroots level. Let's give them the top quality coaches. Let's give them the quality which is required to bring quality results. We always want shortcuts. It doesn't happen. It can never happen in a sport. I remember Belgium in 2009. They stood no way. They had no chance even for qualifying for the Olympics. And now look at them. They are so consistent in their performance. They've been challenging every top teams. They won the World Cup. They won the Olympic Games. And on the other side, if you look at Argentina, 2016 Olympic gold medalist, they are not able to follow that. But luckily, now it's time that India has to realize that sports has to be a way of life. It cannot be brought in temporarily just before the major tournaments. The government is doing extremely well. The federations are doing what best they can with the limited funds available. There are not many sponsors coming in other sports. Hockey is very fortunate that we have Odisha State sponsoring them for a long period. That confidence has to come in the state federations. It has to come in the district federations. Also, the financial support has to come at the national level. Let's forget about the juniors, sub-juniors and the grassroots where there is no money, there is no support. Teams are struggling. I would say it's high time. A calendar program has to start from the grassroots, from the pre-adolescent stage. That's where the sport
you're saying start supporting them much earlier, give them international coaches and support from a younger age than they do at this moment. Joydeep Karmakar, let's take shooting. Sure, Manu Bhaker won 2 bronzes. I mean, she herself was in line for silver on at least 2 of her events, missed out in the 25-meter pistol. A lot of other athletes like Arjun Butata seemed set, heading towards silver, missed out just by that narrowest fraction. Is this just bad luck? Why couldn't we land that one final blow? Even in skeet, just that one odd shot that didn't go right was the difference between winning the bronze and losing the bronze. Why are we, according to you, coming so close and not landing that last punch?
Absolutely. I think you have pointed out very correctly, but then I have a different perspective to this part of coming fourth. I myself was fourth in London Olympics back in 2012. I was the first shooter to get in a fourth position. Of course, I was greeted with much acceptance and a lot of encouragement because I was the first one to be in the fourth place. But now, again, like in 2024, we have seen 3 shooters, like 4 shooters, one in mixed team. They have come in the fourth place and missing the bronze medal by whiskers. But now things are changing. I would very much agree with Adil here because this is a process which was going on for a while. In our time, there was no process. We didn't have proper coaches, but we had to fight a lot of obstacles to to get there, just to get into the finals. I was the first finalist ever in Indian shooting team in a 50-meter to get there. But this is nothing to boast about because, yeah, those were difficult times. Now we want more results. Of course, results are coming, but it is a process. It will not happen overnight. But I'm happy to say and happy to share that apart from the 3 medals, if we don't go by the medal count only, the average ranking of each event, apart from some shotgun events in Indian shooting team, has risen considerably, where we would finish in the past Olympics in 32nd, 42nd, 28th position. Now people are getting there in 12th position, 10th position, missing the final. Sarabjot Singh by in a tens in the same score. So these are the things which are happening.
No, I realize that. I think everybody watching realizes that we've made progress, realizes that it's a process. I'm trying to understand from you, Joydeep Karmakar, what can be done between now and Los Angeles to try and plug that hair length of a gap that still exists?
Yeah, I would agree there is a bit of luck in sports. Everybody would agree, but then we don't depend on luck. We do our best and then rest. If in individual sports like shooting, you cannot do much more than what you can do, because this is a very individual sport. Others shoot well, you can't do anything about it. But of course, going to LA, we'll look forward to it. And I think the usual process right now, which is going on, the momentum we have had in the last few years. Of course, again, we have to remember 12 years we are not without a single medal after 2012. But then things were getting better. Now, eventually, in the culmination point 2024, we have the most number of medals coming from the shooting team. But what I believe is we don't need to change a lot here. We don't need to create a dramatic change here in the system to make it 6 medals or 7 medals in LA. So I think it will gradually happen. The belief system has to be there, because now when you don't have a medal, you have a drought of 12 years. The belief system gets a lot of bashing. And then I think from now, all the shooters, the next generation is also looking up, and then they can see that, okay, 3 medals, fine. Manu Bhaker is a hero. Okay, great. But then there are shooters who are going into the finals, missing out on the medals also. Now I will be the one to win that medal for India. I think that dream that is ignited.
No, the dream was ignited earlier. It's just that it's not getting fulfilled at the culmination of that. Nikhil Nas joins us. He's reporting for us from Paris. Nikhil, this was supposed to be India's day. The hockey team missed out after playing well. Vinesh Phogat in a manner that wasn't even conceivable. I mean, just complete shock. You've been in Paris. Capture the emotion of the day of the Indian contingent, the athletes, the officials, everyone. And now I know that we filed some kind of a complaint with the IOA. Can anything at all still happen? I mean, is there any miracle still possible, or it's game over for Vinesh Phogat?
It's game over. Just to put it in one word, Rahul, I ended up speaking to the UWW chief who heads the International Federation, the United World Wrestling Federation. He mentioned to me in that exclusive interview that it's unfortunate, all right, but there's nothing that can be done. 2 things that really he points out. One, that it is not a new rule. This has been there in play from 2013. So you're very well aware of it. The wrestlers are very well aware of this particular rule. That's one. And, the other being, is there any sort of recourse that can you file an appeal and various things? And to that, he explained it very well. He said if it is a case of, let's say, ambiguity, if there is a case of refereeing error, or you're not happy with some decisions, that's something that you can appeal, and then the federation looks into it. This is a case of black and white. This is a case of just coming into the weight category that you've chosen to participate in, and whether you are below that weight category or not. If you are, then you very well can participate. If you're not, you can't. You were talking about fine margins, Rahul, that 100 grams. This very Olympic Games, I went and saw the 100-meter final. The two finalists 9.79 dead heat, and yet you have a winner between the gold and the silver. I'll give you a wrestling example. You had Sushil Kumar, our very own Sushil Kumar, who's won 2 medals at the Olympic Games, at the Asian Games level. On the eve of his fight, when he the next day, on the day of his fight, I beg your pardon, when he weighed in, he was 40 grams overweight and he wasn't allowed to compete. And here you had an Olympic participant or an Olympic medal winner participating in the Asian Games. So it's been a case of fine.
No, but surely Vinesh's team knew. She fought first in 55 kilograms, then in 53. If she's coming down to 50, weight is something they would have had topmost on their mind, that when you're feeding her last evening, you kind of keep in mind that she has to be 50 kilograms in the morning. But you're also torn because you want her to win the semi-final. You want that she has enough nutrients to be able to do it. So it's really, really complex. But I'm saying that's why we have all these support staff. That's their job. That's what they're supposed to do, to take care of their ward.
No, valid point, Rahul, but the story runs really deep and it had many layers. I mean, for you to understand why this is, and for our viewers to understand why we are in a situation like that, you'd actually have to go a year or two back in history. That's simply because, remember, her natural weight is 57 kilograms. So usually 57 kilograms, and that is Antim, the one who fought today. Her natural weight is around 57. She fights in 53. And that's exactly what you do. Your natural weight, you drop in about 2-3 kilos and participate. In Vinesh's case, she's actually dropping down close to 8 to 10 kilos to participate. And that was only done because Antim had gotten the quota for 53 kilos. And the Indian Wrestling Federation has a rule now that no, whoever wins the quota will go. Vinesh only had 2 options, either to go to 57 kilogram, where she'd have to fight much stronger wrestlers, or fall down to 50, a category which she was participating in 10 years ago when her natural weight was around 53. That was a gamble she took. So the questions could be asked, was it a gamble worth taking at that time? Secondly, I agree with you, your point that you're making in terms of support staff. Last few months she's been, on the road, she's been participating and she's had trouble. She came very close to not even making the Olympic Games. Let me remind everyone that, because when she participated in the Asian quota to get a quota, Asian qualification to get a quota for these games, there also she barely made the cut. She barely made the cut by the narrowest, barest of margin. She participates, gets a quota. So you knew you were treading on very fine line. You knew it from the start. 2.7 kilos, I don't think she expected that that's the kind of weight that she would have gained. I'll tell you how there were signs this might have happened. I saw her compete in the semi-final. Once she won that bout, she goes through the mixed zone where she speaks to the media. She ran. She said, I don't want to speak because I have work to do. She knew she had to lose that 2.7 kilos that she had added on. Had it been close to 2 kilos or slightly less than that, that is something they could have managed. But if I tell you, Rahul, and that'll take me another 5 minutes, I don't think you have time, but if I was to tell you the manner or the means that are employed by boxers and wrestlers to cut down that weight at the last moment, that's another story in itself. Forget about eating. They don't even drink water leading up into that 24-48 hours. They are competing. They can see water. They can see food. Carbohydrates, they cut back 2 weeks in advance. On the 2 days before a bout, they don't even drink water, because the only way they can lose weight, because they've reached the optimum weight, the only way they can lose weight is by not having water in their body. It reached the stage with Vinesh where if she wanted to cry, she couldn't have tears coming out because there was no water left. If she wanted to sweat, there was no sweat left. There was no water left in her body. That's the extreme level that she had reached. And unfortunately, that's the life that most wrestlers and boxers have to live at the moment.
It's really, really terrible. Krishna Punia, you're a champion discus thrower. Track and field still left. We've got our champion Neeraj Chopra in the fray. He could lift 1 billion hearts. But your sense of what we've been discussing, coming so near and yet missing out at that very last stage. Why do you think that's happening? How can we fix it?
राहुल जी, सबसे पहले तो मैं नीरज को शुभकामनाएं देती हूं, और हमारे देश को जैसे विनेश से आशाएं हैं वैसे नीरज से भी हैं। और जो बात आपने कही कि हम, यही सवाल है कि अगर उसका 100 ग्राम वेट कम नहीं हो रहा था तो उस सिचुएशन से हम कैसे बच सकते थे? क्या हमें सिल्वर मेडल के लिए कोई और ऑप्शन थे जो हम रख पाते? तो यहाँ पर मुझे लगता है कि टीम मैनेजमेंट को काम करना चाहिए था। सारे जतन करने के बाद भी 100 ग्राम बॉडी वेट कम नहीं हो रहा है, तो भी मुझे लगता है कि कुछ ऑप्शंस होंगे हमारे पास जिसकी वजह से हम अगर पार्टिसिपेट ना करते और हमें सिल्वर मेडल मिलता।
क्या क्या
तो
इंडिकेट
ये
करें कि आप
disappointing है।
बोलो कि
और
आप इंजर्ड हो गए या
दूसरा-
कुछ, क्योंकि वो तो फेयर नहीं होता ना, अगर आप बोलो कि आप इंजर्ड हो गए, आप नहीं खेल पाते, तब शायद आपको मिल जाए, बट दैट्स नॉट द राइट ओलंपिक थिंग टू डू।
नो नो, चीटिंग का मतलब ये है कि अगर आप डोप टेस्टिंग कर रहे हैं आप या कोई और वजह है, दो बहुत सारी चीजें थी। दूसरा जो मैं कह रही हूँ उसका ऑप्शन ये था कि अगर उस लड़की ने 3 बाउट 50 केजी के में जीती है तो क्या वो हमारे पास एक प्रोटेस्ट करने के लिए हमारे पास ऑप्शन नहीं था कि हमें प्रोटेस्ट करना चाहिए। अगर वो 50 केजी में कर रही है तो कम से कम हमें सिल्वर मेडल तो हमारे पास होना चाहिए। बीइंग एथलीट में ये बातें मैं कह रही हूँ। हाँ ठीक है, रूल है और इसी वजह से वो नहीं जा पाई, पर कुछ तो ऐसा टीम मैनेजमेंट की तरफ से होना चाहिए था, प्रोटेस्ट अच्छे से होना चाहिए था, या कुछ उनको डिसीजन लेने चाहिए थे कि हमें क्या करना चाहिए। और दूसरा मैं ये कहना चाहूंगी कि कोई भी एथलीट जब पार्टिसिपेट कर रहा है तो उसे सिर्फ मेडल दिखता है, बाकी चीजें मैनेज नहीं कर सकता है। हो सकता है उसकी डाइट का कोई फर्क पड़ा हो, हम वो सारा काम स्पोर्टिंग जो टीम है उसका रहता है। तो जब भी कोई एथलीट इतने बड़े इंटरनेशनल लेवल पे, जैसे बात की जा रही है कि उसका नॉर्मल वेट है 57 केजी है और वो 50 केजी में पार्टिसिपेट कर रही है, 57 केजी में वो पार्टिसिपेट 53 में जब वो करती रही है तो 57 था, लेकिन ये नहीं था कि वो सिर्फ 1 महीने में ही 50 केजी में लड़ रही है, वो इसके लिए भी 1.5-2 साल से ट्राई कर रही है ना। तो इसलिए मैं कह सकती हूँ कि उसे भी इस चीज का ध्यान था। पर लास्ट टाइम
Pradeep
में जब आप
Maxi,
इतने
Krishna
बड़े
Punya
international
says we
level पे
could have and we
participate
should
कर
have
रहे हो,
done more. You've
तो
tracked so many Olympics. Was there anything else that we could have done conceivable? Register protests, ensure that she gets the silver some way or the other?
Well, I think we couldn't have done anything because the rules are rules, and as Nikhil also said, the Wrestling Federation president said they are bound to follow the rules. So I don't think we lacked that effort not to try her getting onto the podium or saying that okay, give her silver, even if she's overweight, because she has won her medals or she had won her bouts legitimately. She was below 50 kgs or at 50 kgs when she fought. But leaving that aside, I think you're forgetting one important question. What's wrong with Indian sports? I'll tell you, Vinesh, all that she went through, if she had the courage, the guts, the temperament, the technique to win India a gold medal, she was struggling on the streets of India, protesting that the federation president was sexually harassing the athletes. What did we do? Nothing. The Wrestling Federation of India, Brij Bhushan's brother or son, they are there. She, despite against all odds, she realized that it was her dream to win a medal in Olympics. She cut down on her weight. She changed her weight category. As everyone says, she was 56, 57, fighting in 53. She went down to 50 because she couldn't get the qualification for her main weight category. She did everything. She reached that final. Salute to her. And what is wrong with Indian sports is very obvious if you track Vinish's 6 months, last 1 year journey. That apart, our expectations have grown. We as a nation think that we can become China. But China and the gap between us and other top sporting nations is so huge. Despite that, if we looked at the progression, as Adil is saying, and I agree with him, it's the first time today that every day you sit in front of TV expecting that maybe today we get a medal because somebody is in contention for that medal. That itself is tremendous progress, given the fact that we spent all our money, as Jagbi said, at the top level. No, once we spot an athlete at the top level that he or she might win medal for us. But that's not the way out only. Yes, do that. But you have to go to the grassroots from where you have such a huge population. Get the dividend of that population. You have to invest there at the grassroots, not at the top.
I agree with what you're saying. Invest at the top,
I'm not saying that
also invest at the grassroots. And I think it's a journey. As admirers and lovers of Indian sport, don't give up hope. And I think our guests have made that point. That earlier we weren't even in the fray. Now we're discussing why aren't we winning? What's the gap the gap which is the size of hair, strand of hair? How do we plug that gap? That's easier. than not being in contention at all. And hopefully it is a journey, and hopefully we'll stay at it, not be despondent, and Los Angeles beckons, frankly.